Hey guys, we got this question from one of our viewers. Why can't they find the hostages? We keep hearing that Hamas is crushed, defeated, impotent. We're like, if this is actually true, then how can the hostages still be captured, guarded, and hidden? Please explain. Well, you guys hang tight and I'll do just that. We'll be explaining the whole situation right here. I'm Joshua, and this is the Israel Guys. Welcome back to the Israel Guys, where we believe that in a world of Jew hatred and anti-Israel propaganda, you should have a direct connection to the land and people of Israel. Guys, yes, it is true that Gaza is estimated at more than 50% in the rubble, meaning it is destroyed for the majority of that place. Now, here stands the big issue. We're talking about getting the hostages out and defeating once and for all this terrorist organization, Hamas. Now, here's the big issue. Hamas is now ruling from the rubble, I would say under the rubble. That underground infrastructure is at mass. Now, I'm going to quote from the Modern War Institute at West Point. It says, urban warfare is the hardest type of warfare that any nation can ask its military to conduct. It's more difficult, more complex than any other. Now, there lies the answer to your question. How is it that Israel's been at war for a year and yet there's still hostages there? And how is it that it seems like Israel has obliterated the infrastructure up in the north in Lebanon, and they took out Nasrallah, and they went into Syria, and boom, done. Boom. How is the great success happening outside? But yet, when it comes to the hostages, what's going on? Why is Israel not there? Why have they not pulled out these hostages? Why is this continuing? And this really explains it. Urban warfare is the issue. Mix that with the awful reality that there are civilians, hostages inside of that urban warfare situation in Gaza. Now you have a massive problem, the most complex war that could ever face a country. And that's what is facing Israel. And that's the answer to the question. We're going to dive in a little bit deeper, though, on the specific topic and talk about what Israel is doing and to clarify deeper on this exact issue. Yes, it's true that the IDF is conducting operations all throughout, and they're continuing on all fronts, yes. And as explained, we see massive results in other areas, but less so in Gaza with the dynamic there that's so hard. It's really unimaginable with this urban situation that they're facing. Hey guys, we'll be right back, but first, what would you do to protect your children? For Hadar and Itai Berdichowski, the answer meant everything. On October 7th, as terrorists struck the kibbutz of Kfar Aza, these young parents faced an impossible choice. With their 10-month-old twins in danger, they made the ultimate sacrifice, securing their babies in a safe room, giving their own lives so that their children might live. Today, those twins have found a new home with their aunt and uncle, Ofer and Tom Alon. Already parents to 3 young boys, the Alones opened their hearts and home without hesitation. But raising 5 children under 7, including traumatized twins who lost everything, isn't just emotional and overwhelming. The financial burden is crushing. This is where you come in. Right now, you can be a part of something amazing. Your donation of any size helps to ensure these children who have already lost so much can have a future their parents dreamed of. The Berdichowski twins' story is not just about loss. It's about love, courage, and the power of community coming together. Just click the link in the description below to help these children today. Now, what I have to tell you is that Hamas knew very well that the tactics, the strategy of bringing Israeli hostages into that urban, underground even networks was a strategy that would be hard for Israel, even the most powerful in the region, Israel, amazing military, to untangle and to rescue its hostages from the depth of this prison. These are the big issues and the strategy that Hamas was so thoughtful in planning their heinous crimes against the nation of Israel. Now, I want you to hear from Benjamin Netanyahu himself on the issues that are at play. This is back when he spoke to the UN General Assembly in New York. He really laid it out, and we're gonna talk about that. And I want you to hear it straight from him on what what they've done, and guys, it's continued from that point, but what they've done, and we'll take it up after we hear it straight from Benjamin Netanyahu himself.
The IDF has killed or captured more than half of these terrorists, destroyed over 90% of their rocket arsenal, and eliminated the key segments of their terror tunnel network. In major military operations, we destroyed nearly all of Hamas's terror battalions, 23 out of 24 battalions. Now, to complete our victory, we are focused on mopping up Hamas's remaining fighting capabilities. We are taking out senior terrorist commanders and destroying remaining terrorist infrastructure. But all the while, and I'll say this one more time, we remain focused on our sacred mission, bringing our hostages home, and we will not stop until that mission is complete.
Okay, so he says they've more than half of Hamas had been killed up to this point after a year of fighting. They destroyed 90% of the rocket arsenals. They eliminated key terror infrastructure from the tunnels. They destroyed 23 of the 24 Hamas battalions. Now they're mopping up the senior command and the infrastructure that remains. All of that's happening, all of which with a big focus on the, as he said, sacred mission of bringing the hostages home. And I also would like to quote from Benjamin Netanyahu, a part of his speech, that he also said, and that is, quote, "The IDF have been systematically crushing Hamas's terror army that once ruled Gaza. On October 7th, the day of the invasion into Israel, that terror army numbered nearly 40,000 terrorists. It was armed with more than 15,000 rockets. It had 350 miles of terror tunnels, an underground network bigger than the New York subway system, which they used to wreak havoc above and below the ground." Okay, so what he's just outlined here is indeed the answer to our question. Hamas has built, with Iranian full sponsor. They've put so much money into Gaza, into the Hamas infrastructure, and building a terror network that is so sophisticated that even over at West Point, they would say that this kind of urban warfare is the hardest, and then add harder even on top of that with the situation of the hostages. Just imagine the hardship of trying to fight a war under these circumstances. This is what Israel's been doing for over a year now, and this answers the question for why has the hostages not been brought home? Why have they not been brought home? I will tell you this, don't yield to any kind of conspiracies or thoughts that the Western world will try to tell you. They will try to tell you that Benjamin Netanyahu doesn't want to. He wants to use this as a ploy to destroy Gaza. Of course not. Of course not. Do not listen to the lies of those propagandists that would try to say otherwise. It is Israel's best interest to bring every one of their citizens home. It's in the interest, and of course, any of those that have a heart and a love, of course, they want to bring these people home as fast as they possibly can. And that's what Israel is committed to. It's one of its, as Bibi said, the sacred mission of bringing these hostages home. This is at the core of this war. The reality is that they're all at gunpoint in urban, underground situations. And in that situation, you have an immensely complex mission to conduct. Israel is capable of conducting these. I'm no doubt about it. The effort and the amount of structure that goes in behind the scenes is immense. And of course, they're looking for every opportunity to come in. But don't believe the propaganda that all of this is just about a cover-up so that they can fight and win some kind of war, to annihilate their enemies with an excuse for it. No, that's not the reality. The reality is that Israel wants to bring these people home as fast as possible. And they want to do so, bringing them home, of course, alive. And that takes immense coordination and some of the hardest missions known to man. And I would assume, give it a few, some more time, we will start hearing about the brave operations that have already been conducted. We'll hear more about it. There's going to be books written about this, guys, coming in the future about these operations that Israel is conducting that we have no earthly idea about. The main point is that yes, we're in a very complex situation in Gaza, and the answer to your question is exactly that. And it's not conspiratory, things that the world is all talking about. It's literally straight from West Point, folks. They're telling you that the most complex wars are urban. There's no question about it. And on top of that, a hostage situation, you've got literally the most complex situation the world has ever seen. A literal war going on with both of the hardest kinds of areas possible to fight in, and Israel is facing that right now. So don't lose heart. We must continue to support Israel and support them to get these hostages home. There's a hostage deal sitting on the table right now. The Palestinian authorities just talked about how released some of the ideas about it. It's hard. It's hard. All of these things are very hard. How are we going to get these hostages out? I believe, and I believe what we see happening in Israel is you're going to do that through strength. Israel will achieve that through strength. We obviously saw that President Trump has now issued a pretty serious demand saying if they're not out by January 20th, there's going to be hell to pay. Now, we can all just imagine what hell to pay, what kind of hell Trump is talking about. And we can all imagine that would be a great reason for them to release the hostages now. But we got to remember these are terrorists, and terrorists obviously are not thinking correctly. And we have a world full of them surrounding Israel, all backed by the Iranian head. And this is indeed our big issue here. Guys, I hope that answered your question. And as always, you guys should feel free to ask questions on the channel, in the chat, wherever it is. Feel free to drop a question, and hopefully we'll either get back to you in the chat or, as I'm doing right now, from the studio itself. Guys, as always, tune out the fake news and tune into what's actually happening here in Israel.